Hi Pisces, this is going to be your art channeled message. I channel messages through art, creativity, all that good stuff in between. I really hope my messages inspire you to see the art within yourself, to be yourself, because we all start from zero, which is just a blank canvas, or the fool's journey. Look at yourself and everything around you as a form of art. I'm trying to introduce something new, something fresh, something that's not quite seen too often. So I really hope you appreciate it, as well as my method of reading, which is kind of like an art form or creative tarot. If you'd like a personal reading, all of that's down below. And lastly, there's no rules here, so if this finds you, it's definitely meant for you. You can binge watch them, watch if they're suggested, watch if they pop up. And what's special about my art is you can get anything from it. It's like, what am I trying to say without actually saying it? It's like I speak in metaphors or less structure, as I always say, and it's like one big story or one big canvas. So, without further ado, take a deep breath, because this is going to be a big one. So Pisces, what I started drawing for you is what looks like a crystal or rock with several different textures and elevations to it. It's not smooth by any means. I kept hearing the Sorcerer's Stone from Harry Potter, and I don't think this is the first time I channeled that. So I channeled the Sorcerer's Stone from Harry Potter, which is indirectly an elixir of life. Similar to how crystals have healing properties. And also similar to ingesting herbs and healthy foods. Doing these things can sort of make you more immortal. To me, immortal right now too has this godlike connotation to it, or some type of God complex, like, oh, I can never die, or oh, that will never catch up to me. I am invincible. I'm untouchable. I just heard only I can live forever, which is exactly what Voldemort said in one of the movies, and it just gave me chills, like all down my spine, all down my hands. And that was what Voldemort said in the last movie, right before he wrongfully killed Snape, whom he only ever saw as a servant, or someone that could lead up to him getting the most power. To people like that, people are only supply, people only add to their power. They don't actually care about them. So, I'm seeing Voldemort symbolizes spiritual narcissism. It's like, I am immortal, I am better than others, and I use labels to describe myself because that sets me apart from the rest. I want people to put their faith in me, which he also said, ironically, I did not mean to do that, but also fear me. It's like, put your faith in me, but also fear me. It's no secret that the world has a problem with spiritual narcissism. And it's no coincidence why this stuff starts to get a bad rep. It's like because of those certain people. Not everyone, though. It reminds me of how guidance has turned very clickbaity. Like, oh, someone is doing this to you, or someone is jealous, someone is this. Like, okay. How is that helping anybody? Pisces, the first thing here, a part of your art theme, is a need for you to ignore labels in the name of spirituality. You don't have to be a starseed. You're certainly not everyone is chosen, although it's a nice thing to consider. Like, everyone has a chosen path. Everyone's here for a reason. That's not what I mean. I mean when it gets a little, it's like not everyone's chosen, like Harry Potter, no pun intended. It's like those are all narcissistic titles used for self-importance. It's like real invincibility is shown in actions. You don't need to say it or follow guidance from spiritual narcissists like Voldemort. Maybe you will encounter one. I'm not sure why this is highlighted so much. It's like maybe you're going to have a problem with a spiritual narcissist, or you might be blindly following one and not knowing it. And I think the bigger picture here already is a lot of people can have narcissistic traits, but that doesn't mean they're a full-blown you-know-what. A lot of people do. You can act like one, but doesn't mean you necessarily are one. So there's a need for you to just be self-aware and nip it in the bud right now. Or be careful of what you're consuming. Okay. I'm being pulled back to the texture of the rock again. To me, texture indicates uniqueness and personality, whilst smoothness in rocks indicates nothing is there. I'm literally hearing go for the crystals with the most personality or most value, especially like when you buy them or you find them, because you'll thank yourself for that later. It's like that is your elixir of life. I'm getting quality ingredients or unprocessed foods as well. Things that are closest to their original state. Similar to how freezing or dehydrating fruit can take away some of those vitamins or minerals. And minerals are also a part of rocks. It's the same thing. Something here about needing something to stay true to its original state. Because as you go along, as you tamper with it, the less value it has. But get this. Harry is the chosen one spiritually, right? Yet Voldemort went through all this trouble to get that elixir in the first movie so he could survive or so he could come back. So he no longer had to use that professor as a host. It's almost like he was like a leech harvesting off of another's source of life, which is really creepy. I'm hearing supply once more, which were essentially his brainwashed followers, similar to a spiritual cult or a corrupt spiritual leader. But in the end, Voldemort died thinking he was in power. Nothing was ever really enough for him. Not even invincibility, not even the gift of life was enough for him. Him being back and having supporters wasn't even enough. It's never enough for someone that's in this state of mind. I'm getting as well, Pisces, there's emphasis on you needing to avoid indoctrination of any kind. People don't think they'll get sucked up into dark content or dark people, but it can be very convincing. Because from someone like me, like I'm just gonna say this from a biased standpoint, when I think of things like a dark cult you could consider Voldemort and his Death Eater followers, I'd be like, why would you want to bring this guy back? When he literally killed some of his supporters. He literally manipulated most of his supporters. Like, why do you want this guy here? What are you getting out of it? Just look at Jim Jones with what he got away with the Jonestown massacre. He was not a good person. He was not smart or right by any means, but he somehow convinced people to look up to him. I'm also hearing something here about mentally ill. Do not follow those that are clearly not right in the head. It sounds like common sense, but how many people do you think get sucked into content and don't realize they have an addiction? Don't know if I'm going to need many cards for this, but I guess we'll just go with the flow. So basically, Pisces, the one that doesn't try to be immortal usually ends up living longer or being very powerful. That's the irony of you right now. You can be all of those things without knowing it. Instead, you choose to embody it and show it. I'm hearing only I can live forever once more. That's the equivalent to of only I can give advice, or only I know what's best for people. Only I have all the answers. No one has all the answers. No, that's another symptom of you know what. Okay, I'm gonna get a Harry Potter card because I only do these when I channel Harry Potter. So let's see. It's like only I can live forever. There's something here about immortality. A good example of a textured rock would be this. We have the night bus. The night bus in The Prisoner of Azkaban basically transported any stranded witch or wizard, let's say in like literal terms, outside of the magical world, you got kicked out of your home or your car broke down. It's kind of like that. You could look at it as like car repairs, AAA, just like, let me take you here because you're a stranded wizard, you need help. It's kind of like that. But in regards to this reading, I'm seeing this as vulnerability. It's like where one goes, what one relies on when they're in their most vulnerable state. It's kind of like, well, if you consider tarot readings, when a lot of people are in pain, distress, maybe they just went through a breakup, they tend to overindulge in tarot readings for guidance on what to do next, or they want to be told what they're looking for, when that's actually very dangerous, because that can lead to like delusional thinking. It's really just not good to do too much. For other people, you could say an addictive behavior that could be formed is watching porn. That's what people do to fill the void of loneliness. It's also another technique used to cope with uncomfortable emotions. A lot of people rely on other people, or when they're vulnerable, that's when dark things try to sort of lure them in at that time. Reminds me too as well of when someone just gets out of a breakup, they're very vulnerable and people can sense that. That's why you see so many people trying to approach that person, where it's like they sort of have that energy coming off of them that makes it seem like, oh, let me rescue you. Let me take this sort of like, I don't want to say cheap shot. Let me take advantage, essentially. So that's what I'm seeing, Pisces. It's like kind of like avoid the night bus. Usually on buses, there's many people. Kind of like, I'm seeing 10 as in 10 of Pentacles, like a family thing. Oh my God. I'm literally hearing how like some jobs say this. They're like, oh, we're all a family here. And that's like the most toxic job you're ever probably going to be at. Never trust someone that says that. It's like, oh, we're all a family here. When it's actually a fucking dark cult or a bunch of dark people that want to use that to manipulate that relationship to the farthest they can, if that makes sense. It's like, oh, we're all wizards here. You can trust us. We're a family. But that doesn't mean family can't hurt you. It doesn't mean you have to deal with everything they say, listen to everything they say. They don't have all the answers for you. Let's see. Then we have Ace of Swords. It's like, I'm seeing that as literally like, think for yourself. Seeing that too with the sword with the crown on there. It's like, who's in charge? Kind of like, who's the leader of the friend group? You can always tell. Let me get a few cards. We have Four of Wands. Looks to me like this could be any church, building, or places where rituals take place, like weddings, parties, ceremonies. Ten of Pentacles. Literally mentioned that and it came out. Two of Swords and then Seven of Pentacles. Sorry if it's dark in here. It feels like that happened like so fast. But anyways, to me with the Four of Wands and the Nine of Wands here, it's like, oh, this lookout vibe. Like, I don't trust this place. This is very weird, even though it doesn't necessarily like portray itself that way. And then we have the Ten of Pentacles, which is the equivalent of what I said is like the night bus, transporting any stranded person or person in need of help. You could be in that state right now. You'd know that, not me. It's like, did you just get over something? Are you in a sad place? Are you vulnerable in any type of way? That's what the Ten of Pentacles is. It's like, we're a family here. But then this is followed by the Hermit. Usually in the Harry Potter way, this is like my Dumbledore card. And Dumbledore was, in a way, very wise. He was always saying wise things that were kind of up for interpretation. So when you put these two together, this is the complete opposite of what you could say is dark, like Voldemort. It's almost like straying away before it's too late, before you're indoctrinated into a group or inducted into a group. It doesn't mean you can't be a part of it per se, but you also have to learn to what? Think for yourself. I'm even saying like taking time apart from people so that you can get, what do they call it, clarity on who they really are. It's like taking time apart or like taking a break on something. Like, let me take a step back. And then you start seeing people for who they are. Seven of Cups. I'm also seeing the Seven of Cups as like illusions placed in one's mind. With the clouds here, it's like it's not actually there. It's not actually real. What's being told is very fabricated. It's like delusional. Which is like all the cards are reflecting what I channeled in my art. That's crazy. And like not knowing right from wrong, the Two of Swords. I'm gonna get one more Harry Potter card to wrap up this reading. This is crazy. It's like, what's the advice here? How can I wrap up this art theme? Remember, spiritual narcissism. Only I can live forever. Only I know all the answers. Not quite. We have Hermione's wand. I thought that said the Elder Wand for a second. That's the most powerful wand in this universe. So Hermione is considered a very smart girl. Despite being Muggle-born, which is kind of like a racist term in the Harry Potter world, she was often looked down upon for that. But she was like the smartest, like best witch of her age. She's been told that several times. So I'm seeing that that's you, Pisces. And it takes me right back to what I said about being immortal, or in Voldemort's case, thinking you're better than everyone else. Thinking because you're a pure blood, you're this, you're that. Like, he really thought, like, there was a distinction between him and other people. Like, he wouldn't like people like Hermione. It's like, but Hermione's the one that pulls through in the end. Hermione has all the answers. But the J too, I'm seeing Joker, it's like fooling people. It's like you have no idea what to expect with me. Jump right in and save the day. And then High Priestess, she's the epitome of the High Priestess. She's all the secrets, all the knowledge. People are constantly impressed with what she's doing, but she cares about people. Okay, Pisces, I think you get the moral of the story here, or the bigger picture of the canvas. Please like, subscribe, support the channel in any way you can. I would really, really, really appreciate it. And yeah, remember, it's the overall art, even though it's getting dark. And then there's the underlying art. It's like, what am I trying to say without actually saying it? That's what's special about my art. It's like an optical illusion, less structure. It's kind of like a big story, full of metaphors, figurative language. Sometimes it doesn't always come together. But the cards, sure as hell, always make sense. Come on, Ten of Pentacles. Seeing that literally means cultish followings or cultish behavior. There's a need here to go alone, no matter what you face for it. Even if you're segregated, even if you're blamed, it doesn't mean you're wrong. Reminds me too as well of when people think for themselves, they often have regrets for a moment. They're like, is it me? Am I the weirdo? No, they're all indoctrinated. They're all being fooled. They're all like brainwashed. That's the right word to say. They all can't see. It's like her body's moving. Her body's on guard, but you can't see what's around you. So what are you sensing? What's there? Okay, Pisces. Bye. Okay, Pisces, just finished your reading, and this is usually like additional downloads, feedback, art themes that sort of come at the end or come out of nowhere, even when I've already wrapped it up. So, in conclusion, I feel guided to go back to these once more. Seeing this, with what I said previously, is mental illness. Kind of like blindly following something. You don't know if you're blindly following a sense of grandeur. You don't know if you're following something that's not real, something that's a delusion. You don't know if someone can't determine the difference between fantasy and reality. Sometimes those two are very, there's a thin line between them. So Pisces, there's a need for you to not blindly follow and think for yourself. Because what could you be following? What could you be getting yourself into under the guise of we are family, we are one? It's not a coincidence that the 9 of Wands is right next to the 10 of Pentacles. I'm also seeing that as 9 before 10. What happens before 10? What happens before the climax? What happens before the end? Do you know the difference between right and wrong? Does the person you're following know the difference between right and wrong? The difference between fake and the reality? It's kind of like someone thinking that Harry Potter is real. I used it as an example with how it came to me, but that doesn't mean, you know? Okay, Pisces, that's the end of this art theme or art channeled message. Support in any way, please like that video. It would really help a lot, especially if you resonated. There's always something you can get from my art or my messages. So, yeah. You have mental illness, the distinguishing between what's real, what's not, what's right, what's wrong. Okay, bye.